my little yarnivores and spiderettes. Fiber Spider back again with another tutorial just for you. And today I am excited to show you something that I whipped up. It is a hooded infinity scarf and I absolutely love it. Check this out. It is so warm and snuggly wuggly because we're going to be doing the basket weave stitch. Absolutely love this. And yes, it is connected at the bottom so that you can twist the bottom loop, pop it over your head, and it's part scarf, part hood, part cowl, and it is awesome sauce. Absolutely love this project. By the way, this video is sponsored by Lion Brand. Thank you very much, Lion Brand, for sponsoring today's video. Much appreciated. I used Lion Brand's Pound of Love in the colorway of olive. Absolutely love this yarn because you really get the yardage. And for this project, you need it. Yeah, because out of that Pound of Love, I only had this much left after I was finished with my project because since it is a textured stitch, it eats up yarn fast. But I'm already getting warmed up. It's very, very warm and toasty. And it also comes back down down past my neck onto my shoulders. It really is encompassing. It is so nice and toasty, my goodness. And absolutely love this because also wearing this, you really don't need a hat, which is an extra bonus, but it's roomy enough that if you wanted to, you could. So, like I said, I only had this much left over, so you are going to need yardage, and Pound of Love certainly has it. Now, there we go. So, Pound of Love, for those of you that are not familiar with it, I mean, I use it on so many of my projects. It is 16 ounces, and it is approximately 1,020 yards. And so this much left over, I would say, is probably 1 to 200 yards left over. I'm guesstimating, okay? So roughly speaking, of a worsted weight yarn, you're probably going to need roughly about 800 yards. But this is nice and thick, so I think it's totally worth it. And it is acrylic, so it's machine washable and dryable, yet it's nice and soft, and I use it all the time. So that being said, now today's example, we're going to be using this colorway, which is Umber. It's a nice sort of rusty brown. Absolutely love it. And we are going to be doing, for this tutorial, it's more of a formulation as far as how you create the initial infinity scarf, the initial ring, and then build off of it. So I'm going to be creating a sort of smaller example. However, when you are making your own, you can make it as big as you want to or as small as you want to. It's very customizable, which is a nice added feature. So I'm going to be working with a smaller example, but I'm going to give you the measurements as well as the repetitions and stitch count that you would need if you want to create something in this exact size. Alrighty, so without further ado, let's get started. Okie dokie. So what you initially have to do is figure out, roughly speaking, about how long you want your loop of your infinity scarf to be. It needs to be a multiple of 8 chains, and what I decided was on a total of 200 chains for the circumference of my infinity scarf. Now, keep in mind also that with this weight of yarn, even though normally I would use a size I, which is a 5.5 millimeter hook, I decided on using a 6 because since it is a textured stitch, I wanted it to be just a little bit looser. All right, so that is the gauge that I'm currently working with. So it's a size J with a worsted weight of yarn. That being said, with those 200 chains that I made, that ended up creating a circumference of roughly 66 inches. Okay, now for today's example, I definitely pared that down quite a bit because this chain is only going to be 48 chains. Okay, so as long as it's a multiple of 8 chains, you're good to go. You can, of course, alter what stitch you're doing as far as the basket weave. This is going to be a 4x4 block of the basket weave. You could do a 3x3, a 2x2. You could just do double crochets, I mean, dealer's choice, quite frankly. This is very, very customizable, as I said before. However, for the snuggly wuggly aspect, I would suggest doing a textured stitch like the basket weave. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So what you need to do is figure out your multiple of 8 chains for your circumference, and then we shall continue. All right, so like I said, I'm doing 48, but this is just my sample swatch to show you how it's all constructed and put together. But 200 totally worked for me. All right, and then once you have your chain, we'll get started. Okay, so after you have figured out how long you want your base chain to be, we're on round 1. And so you have your base chain, and we are going to connect it to make a loop. Now, of course, you do not want your chain to be twisted when you connect it. So you do want to be very, very careful, especially if it's a long chain, that there are no twists. And then, not twisting, but turning your chain, going to do a slip stitch into that first chain. There we go. Slip stitch right into there. Come on. There we go. Okay. Then, to give us some height, we're going to chain up 2 and double crochet into that same stitch. This is going to count just as 1 stitch. So double crochet into that first chain. And then double crochet into every chain all the way around. Now, you could go into just the back loop only or underneath both loops of the V. Honestly, in this particular case, I really don't think that it makes any tangible difference. So me personally, I'm just going to be going underneath the back loop of the V with my double crochet stitches. And frankly, this is the fiddly row, because going into chain stitches is always a little bit of a slow and time-consuming process, but this is going to be the foundation for... My yarn is split. I'm sorry. Hang on just one moment while I get this stitch. It's being argumentative. Oh, dearie me. That's okay. There we go. So the round of double crochets is going to be the foundation for our basket weave stitch. And so this is sort of like the preliminary round. And then after this, we're going to be doing approximately 16 more rounds, but doing the basket weave stitch. So what I want you to do is continue going into every chain, just double crochet into each stitch, and then when you have come full circle and you've done a double crochet into your last stitch, slip stitch into the top of the first double crochet. Ignore this chaining up of 2. You're going to be going into the top of that double crochet right here and slip stitch into the top of that double crochet to complete your round 1. So hop to it, and I will see you in a bit. All right, so we are going to be doing round 2, which is going to be the first round of the basket weave, but I wanted to show you just the join on camera. So this is the end of my round 1. Now, definitely you want to be sure that you do have the number of double crochets that you initially intended on, not missing or adding one, which is honestly, it is easy to do. So doing my slip stitch, and when you are counting, just be sure that you don't count that initial chaining up of 2, because like I said, that does not count as an actual stitch. So for round 2, chain up 2, again, to give us some height. And we're going to hop right into our front post double crochets for the first 4 stitches. So yarning over, going around the post, and front post double, and then the next 3. So we're not going into the stitch, we're going around the post of the stitch. So that's 2. And 3. And 4. Okay, then alternating with back post doubles. So going around the back, around the post, and back post double crochet. And we're going to be doing 4 of these. So I've got the 1, 2, 3, and 4. So it creates a ridge in the front, and then back to the 4 front posts. So it's really going back and forth between 4 front posts, then 4 back posts. Now, of course, like I said before, if you want to alter the size of your basket weave blocks, you could do, like I said, a 3x3 or a 2x2. Just make sure that, like for instance, I have a 4x4, right? So it's a repeat of 8, okay? If you did a 3x3 block, then it would be a repeat of 6, because you take one off of here and then one off of here, so it'd be a repeat of 6. If it's a 2x2, it would be a repeat of 4, a multiple of 4. So just be sure that that reflects your total stitch count, and you'll be fine. So we did our 4 front posts. Let's do 4 back posts for good measure. And you just do this for your entire round. And once you start to get more fabric stitched up, it really is a lot easier when you have more of a base to work off of. So we've got the 4 back posts, then 4 front posts, 2 more, okay, and then so on and so forth all the way around. And I will meet back up with you when I'm almost done with round 2. All right, be right back. Okay, so I'm almost done with round 2. I just need to do my last 4 back post double crochet stitches, and then we get to do the join. So that's the 1, and 2, 3, and last but not least, 4. Okay, then to finish up round 2, going to slip stitch into that first of our front post double crochet stitches. Ignore that chaining of 2. So right into the top of that front post. And there you go. So to do the rest of the excuse me, to do the rest of the block for our basket weave stitch, okay, it's going to be a total of 4 rows, well, 4 rounds really. So we did round 2, so for rounds 3, 4, and 5, going to be doing the exact same thing essentially by chaining up 2 and front post around the front posts and back post around the back posts. So it's basically just following suit with what we've been doing from round 2. So front post around that front post around the front post, and so forth for these first 4 stitches. And then the next 4 back posts. So going on around the back, around that post. And around the back. And around the back. And one more. Around the back. There you go. And then, you guessed it, 4 front posts. So basically it's just alternating back and forth between your 4 fronts and your 4 backs. And you do that for, like I said, it's rounds 2 through 5. And then when you reach the end of this round, you just repeat the same thing by, after going into your last of your back post double crochet stitches, this one here, you would then slip stitch into the top of that first front post double crochet, chain up 2, and then do your 4 front post stitches, then your 4 back post stitches, etc., etc. See, we've already done this first row, and then this is our second one. When you have 4 of these bars, these horizontal bars, that is, I found, the easiest way of just at a glance seeing just how many rounds you've done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue on through the end of round 5, and then I'll meet back up with you to show how you can then do sort of the checkerboard effect of the weaving of the stitch, and we shall continue on from there. All right, I'll see you in a bit. Okay, so we are up to round 6. Now, looking back at our work, like I mentioned before, we have these horizontal bars. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4 of these bars. So like I said, it's a 4 by 4 block. So because it's 4 wide and 4 high, that's what I was referring to before. It could be a 3 by 3 or 2 by 2. Just have your initial chain stitch count work accordingly. So since we have our front post doubles here, we're now going to be swapping off to back posts. So it's going to be back posts and front posts, back posts and front posts. It's going to create that sort of checkerboard woven look that I love so much. So we're going to start by chaining up 2. And these first 4 front posts are going to now be back posts. So around the back. And then 3 more. There we are. So we've got our 4 back post double crochets. And again, this chaining of 2 does not count as your actual stitch. It's just give us the height. So now we're doing 4 front posts. And aside from the fact that this is a really awesome, squishy, textured, warm stitch, it's also very easy, I find, to read the stitches to see where you're at as far as the number of rounds that you're currently working on. Also, another thing that I rather like is that it is gender neutral. So no matter who you are making this for, they are sure to love it. And so we did our 4 front posts, so now we're doing back posts again. And that's really all there is to it for the rest of this round. Just alternate back and forth between doing back posts on top of the front posts and vice versa all the way around. And then when you have come full circle, see, we started right here. So you would do your back posts and your front posts, and then you would join up. And you know what? I will meet back up with you around this point here, and we shall continue on. Okay, so just keep going on in the same fashion, and I'll see you in a bit. Alrighty. Okay, so I'm almost done with round 6. I just need to do my last 4 front post doubles. And then I will show you the join and, excuse me, how to continue on for the next bunch of rounds. Pretty much following suit, just like we did previously. Okie doke, so I got my 4 front posts. Now, like we did previously, we're going to slip stitch to that first post stitch. In this case, yes, it's a back post double crochet. So slip stitch into the top of that first back post double crochet stitch. And voila. In the grand scheme of things, this chaining of 2, it really does not stand out in any way, which I really, really like. It sort of blends in to the rest of the piece quite nicely, I find. So that was round 6. So for rounds 7, 8, and 9, we are going to continue by doing the same thing that we just did. So chain up 2, and then back post the back posts. 4 in total, of course. And then front post the front posts. It's very straightforward. And when, quite frankly, so much of life is not straightforward, it's nice when our stitching can be, don't you think? So front post those front posts, and back post the back posts. Easy peasy. And so you just keep doing this for, like I said, rounds 6, 7, 8, and 9, those 4 rounds. And then, guess what? You get to start over again as far as alternating your blocks. Because after you're done with this sequence of blocks, where you're starting with your back posts and then doing your front posts and so on and so forth, so you're going to have two tiers of blocks. Now, for my example, I did a total of 4 tiers of blocks. Okay, so in essence, what you would do is you would be repeating rows 2, 3, 4, and 5, okay, because you'd again be starting with your front posts. And then you would repeat rows 6, 7, 8, and 9. So you're really not doing anything new. You're just repeating what you've already done. Okay. And the width, I have my notes right here. So the width of the scarf after doing 4 tiers of these blocks, the width for me was approximately 6.5 inches for the width of the scarf. Now, for me, that works. You can go wider if you want to. You can go more narrow if you want to. It's totally customizable, of course. And then once your scarf is wide enough, now, you can, keep doing that repeat as many times as you want to. Just be sure that you complete the 4x4 block. Do your 4 rounds in order to complete the block. Otherwise, I think it would look a little bit wonky. Okay. Um, don't just do 2 rounds of your new block. Do all 4 until it is wide enough. And so for me, it was a total of 17 rounds, and it was the 4 tiers, and it was about 6.5 inches. Okay. And then we will start in creating the hood flap, as I call it. And the best part about this is there's no sewing involved. We are going to do a join with a slip stitch join, which it's awesome sauce, but we will get there. So in the meantime, keep doing your rounds, okay? And I will meet back up with you. I'm only going to finish this second tier, but for the width, for your sake, I would say do all 4 tiers, okay? So I will be right back. Alrighty, so this is my original piece that I showed before, and I just wanted to show you this so that the context is a little bit easier to understand in relation to the swatch sample that I've been working on. So as you can see, we have 4 tiers of blocks, and so that is, in fact, a total of 17 rounds because you have your first round, your preliminary round of the just double crochets, and then you have groups of 4. So it's 4, 8, 12, and 16, plus that one is 17. And then, and like I said, it's about 6.5 inches in width for the scarf. If you want to go more, you totally can, but I found that that was sufficient. Now, at this point, we are now going to start working on the hood flap. So instead of working in rounds, we're going to be working in rows. Now, believe it or not, the hood flap actually is a lot wider than you might initially think, because if you want the hood to go past the front of your face and to really cover your head, it needs to be pretty wide. So mine was approximately 23 inches in width. Okay, that's the flap that we're going to be doing back and forth in the rows. And what that amounts to is 18 blocks wide. Okay, now the reason why you want an even number is because I'm going to show you this is the top of my hood where it's joined with the slip stitches. If you had an odd number, then at the top you would have front posts and front posts facing each other, and the checkerboard woven look would not continue all the way throughout. So that's why you want an even number of blocks. For me, it was 18 blocks. Okay. As far as the height of the hood flap. So this is the scarf here, and this is the hood flap. Now, the height for me was approximately 5, I think it was 5 tiers high. Let me see. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, 5 tiers of blocks high for the flap, and it was about 8 inches in height for the hood flap. Now, 8 inches actually is pretty standard for the height of a hat, so it makes sense in the long run. So that's to give you the basis, the overall understanding of what exactly we are doing. So that being said, let's go back to my little small swatch piece, and I'll show you exactly what you need to do to make your hood flap. All right, thank you for bearing with me. I like to be clear and I like to be thorough. So let's get back to the stitching. Okay, so technically this would be round 18 or row 18. Um, if you were to follow, the exact formula that I had shown with the green piece from earlier. Um, even though, no, I know this is a much smaller piece, but let's just, use our imagination and suspend our disbelief for just a moment. All right, so to do the hood flap, we're pretty much going to start exactly as we had before by chaining up 2, and then we're going to be doing the alternate stitches. So these are back posts, so I'm going to do 4 front posts, and then 4 back posts, really just following suit. The only difference is that we are not going all the way around. So we did our 4 fronts, now we need to do 4 backs. And based on your gauge, you may need to do more or less blocks than I had previously mentioned. Like I said, I did about 18 blocks for the width, and that was about 23 inches. So you may need to do more, you may need to do less, especially if you're doing a different size than what I had done on my sample piece. But really, whatever works best for you. This is a very customizable piece, and I encourage you to experiment and to try new things. Okay, so we have 3 blocks. We're going to do 4 blocks wide. So let's do one more. So I need my 4 back post stitches because, like I said, you need to have an even number of blocks for it to work. As far as the aesthetics go. I mean, technically, it'll work no matter if it's an even or an odd. That's fine, but I found that it's actually that it works best with an even number. So that is going to be the first row. Also, as you can see, I didn't go, that far, but, this will definitely work out as far as what we need to do. So from here, so that was row 18. Now we're going to be doing row 19. So for row 19, going to, and we just did 4, 4, 4, and 4, and so forth. So chain up 2, turn the work, and so here we have 4 front posts and then 4 back posts. So follow suit with the stitches, okay? So going around that first front post with your front posts, and then do 4 back posts. You're following suit with what we have existing here. All right, so we've got our 4 front posts, and then we do 4 back posts. one more. Okay, and then 4 front posts. Okay, there we go. And then end with 4 back posts. Again, be careful about this last chaining up of 2. Ignore that chaining up of 2. Otherwise, you're going to end up messing up your stitch count. So just do 4 back posts here. That's 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, so that's the first 2 rows of your block. Okay, so you need 2 more rows to finish up your block. So we'll start that. So row 20. So chain up 2, turn your work, and then again, 4 front, 4 back, 4 front, 4 back, you know, as wide as you need it to be in order to obtain the width of your hood. You know, I mean, I'm only doing 4, but on my actual piece, I did 18. Okay. So, I mean, I'm trying not to be confusing. I'm trying to be clear. I don't know if I'm succeeding or not, but, you know, you can let me know. So, going and doing our front post, double crochets here. There we go. And then for back post, and then for front, and then for back. And again, be careful not to utilize your chaining up of 2. Just go around the double. So it does actually end up creating sort of like a little bit of a loop, that chain 2. But actually, I think it looks kind of neat the way that it sort of curves around like that. So then one more, chain up 2, turn the work, because as you can see, we only have 3 bars. We need those 4 bars. So continue on for the rest of this row, you know, starting off with your 4 front post, then your 4 back post until you reach the end. And then we're going to strike that, reverse it, and continue on with our basket weave. So I'm going to do the rest of this row off camera, and I will meet back up with you so that we can start the next series of blocks, the next tier. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, so this is row 22, and we're going to be doing the next tier of blocks. I'm going to show you that real quick. So start off, of course, by chaining up of 2, turn the work. And so we have our front posts. Well, we need to start off with back posts. So going around the back and back post. Can be a little bit fiddly, but it is worth it, I find. And then continue with 3 more back post stitches. There we go. And then front post the next 4. And then, you guessed it, back post the next 4. Now, if you want, a different sized hood, whether wider or taller, hey, more power to you. And the beauty of this is, since we're not going to be sewing, you can always experiment, and then you don't have to worry about, ripping out your stitches, stitch by stitch. No, it's really, really easy to undo and redo if needs be. So now we have these last 4 front post stitches. And 1 more after this. So sort of scoot that chaining of 2 to the side. There we go. And front post that stitch. There we go. So then chaining up of 2. Turn the work. I don't know why I'm using this stitch counter, the row counter. It's like, it's kind of not necessary, really. All right, so again, we have to start off with our back posts because we have our back posts right here. So going around the back, grab that post and back post, double crochet, and then 3 more. Okay, and then front post the next 4. Back post the next 4. And then front post the last 4 and just get rid of any extraneous little tangles that are inevitable in any stitcher's life. Okay, so front post these last 4 stitches. Okie dokie. All right, so in order to finish up this block, this tier, you would need to do 2 more rows in exactly the same fashion that we just did. And then, if you wanted to follow suit with, what I had mentioned before, it would be a total of 5 tiers of blocks high. I mean, this would be only the second tier. So then you just do 3 more tiers of your blocks. I'm going to leave off after I finish this current tier. And I really want to show you how to do the joining. It's so easy. I love it. All right, so I'm going to finish this tier and I will be right back. Okay. All right, folks. So we are in the home stretch. Yes. So once your hood flap is the desired size, now, like I said, mine was approximately 23 inches in width and about 8 inches in height. Use your imagination. I know you can do this. All right. So basically, what it amounts to is taking this flap and folding it in half. And we're going to join with a slip stitch through the front and back layer that way, with a slip stitch. And it is so easy to do. I love it because there's no sewing involved. I mean, I like sewing, just I like crocheting to be crocheting and sewing to be sewing. So start off by chaining up 1, and we're going to fold our piece in half. Now, again, this is why I said you want an even number of blocks, because the first end one here, that's all of the back posts. Well, on the other side, look at that. It's all front posts. It evens up. All right. So going in through the first of our back post double crochets, and then you need to go through the first on the other side. Now, you want to be careful that you are, in fact, going into the right one. So sometimes it's easier, if you examine your stitches, because we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. You don't want to go into that chaining up of 2. You want to avoid that one. Otherwise, again, it'll mess up your stitch count. So we went through the first one here. Let's go through the first one there. And we will do our slip stitch join. So through all of those loops there in one nice fell swoop, and then go through the next pairing. Like so. And if you're wondering to yourself, well, wait a minute, isn't this going to create a ridge? Yeah, well, you can turn this inside out with no problem. And that is the beauty of this project, is that it looks the same on the right side as it does the wrong side. And so just keep on doing your slip stitch join all the way across. And when you get to the fold, it gets a little bit tricky, but just be patient. And technically what you could do is cut your yarn before this and just sew up the rest of the point, but I like to get as close to the fold as possible before doing that. And so, yeah, at this point, I mean, you're practically there. You would cut your yarn, pull out your loop, and sew in your tail. And then, yes, as you can see, yes, it does have a bit of a ridge. However, on the other side, da 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 da, what a seam. Gotta love it. Love it. Can't help it. I love it. Absolutely awesome sauce. And then so the rest of your project would follow suit. And yes, this is a very weird looking example, but it does give you the basis of what you need in order to make one of your very own. So, I mean, yeah, I could have gone wider and taller and so forth, but yeah, a little hood for your little infinity scarf. I know, I'm silly, but this is really what you needed to know in order to do the project. Alrighty. All right, my dears, so that concludes today's tutorial on the hooded infinity scarf. Thank you so very much for joining me today. I hope you liked it. And also, a big old thank you to Lion Brand for sponsoring this video. Thank you for your support continued throughout the years. I really appreciate it. And if you liked this video, please give a little thumbs up button down below because you know I appreciate your appreciation. Links and timestamps are in the description box down below, of course, and you know what to do until next time, right? Stay inspired, stay caffeinated, stay stitching, and please, stay safe. Take care of yourselves and each other, and I will see you in my next video. Have a great day, everybody, and bye for now.